Morning. Good morning. Jacinta. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Jacinta. Good morning. Jacinta, are you hearing me? Jacinta. Good afternoon. Hello.
Yes.
You're hearing me now?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Welcome to this class.
Mm-hmm.
And my name is Cornelius. Already done a done introduction.
Mm-hmm.
And we've never met in any
Yeah,
forum of
sure.
discussion.
Yeah,
And
we've never met.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this our first day class, and
Mhm.
it did not contain labor and industrial law,
Mhm.
and probably maybe you have not up to lesson 2 of week 2.
Lesson 2, week 2.
Yes.
Mhm.
And for now, I want us to discuss something small concerning the introduction
Mhm.
to labor and industrial law. So let me
Mhm.
hope that you have uh, information maybe pertaining to this kind of unit.
Yeah.
And from the screen I've shared, you are able to see the introduction to
Mhm.
labor and industrial relations. So basically what we need to understand here is more of labor law as compared to what labor and industrial relations, because in this module 2 or in this unit, we are going to discuss more of law as compared to industrial relations. And what is very important is that we need to know that this labor law is a basic unit. Another unit called labor and industrial relations. A unit you're going to do it in module 3. So in 3,
Mhm.
what I could say is that labor law is just like any other law. And in this case, it is going to bind the employer and the employee. Like in week 2, we have shared concerning employment contract. And in this case, we need to understand that the employment contract is always a contract between two parties. That is the employer and the employee, which in this case, it is what? It is still law. So in brief is that labor law is body of laws or administrative rulings and precedents which address the legal rights of and restrict on working people and their organization. So in this statement, you are saying working people and their organization. It is now the individual employee and the employer. So if let's assume that you are working here, in this case, you must have been given what the contract of employment, and that is now the law that is going to bind you and the employee, the other employee in the organization. Then we also have industrial relations, which are included here just intentionally because it is the sub of the industrial law. So industrial relations can be regarded as system or a web of rules regulating employment and the ways in which people behave at work. Like in this case, if you're an employee, then there must be a way in which you're supposed to carry yourself in the workplace. Then the other thing is we need to know about the historical development of labor laws and already share the information concerning how labor laws originated. So that is not very important for now, but you can just read on your own and understand. Then we have the purposes or the meaning of law itself. This is now the basic law that you can get from the Constitution. And in this case, I would say that law consists of a body of principles recognized and applied by the state in the administration of justice. Like any other time when you go to the court, maybe you want your case to be heard. It is just a way in which you are getting what justice. But for the employees, we don't go just to the ordinary court, but we go to the industrial court. So I think in topic 3, we're going to discuss about the industrial court. So what I would say is it is very important that we understand exactly the basic element or why is it that we need to define the word law. Now say that law has been defined as the collection of binding rules of human conduct prescribed by human beings for obedience of humans. So it is always good for us that whenever we are just carrying ourselves, we do the best that we can do to ensure that we are getting the best out of it. So we have the purposes of law or the functions of law. One, rules of law facilitate administration of justice. So to get what justice. Like someone has done wrong to you, and the only thing that you can get the benefit out of it is just from understand that peace and order in our country. The other thing is law promotes good governance. Like in our country, Kenya, we need to have a good constitution or a good law, which will now have to assist uh, the government in running its affairs in a desirable manner. The other thing is law is a standard setting and control mechanism. The last thing is provision of legal remedies, protection of rights and duties. Like under the employment contract, we have ways in which someone can maybe can terminate your contract as an employee. In this case, yes, submission of contract can be done. In some ways, it can be in a fair way. In some ways, it cannot be in a fair way. So if it is not in a fair way, what are you supposed to do? It is now the law that is going to give us what a remedy or a protection in line with our duties in the workplace. Then we have types and classifications of law. We have written and unwritten. We have national and international. We have public and private. We have substantive and procedural. We have criminal and civil. So really explain them in brief. Like if we see the a good example of this written law is our constitution. That is an example of a written law. Unwritten laws, in most cases, these are things that govern our society, or these are things that we normally follow, and they have not been written anywhere. Like in our own home, there are always rules to be followed. Remember, these things have not been reduced to writing, and that is why we are saying it is what unwritten. Yes, it is a law, but it has not been written. Then we have the national or municipal law. And in this case, these are rules of law operation within the boundaries of our country. It regulates the relationship between citizens and between citizens and the state. Like the law that govern me and you, or me and the government, or you and the government is what we call the national law. And when it comes to now the law that is going to bind two countries, in this case, we're going to call it international law. We also have the public and the private law. So public law always consists of those branches of law in which the state has interest. The sovereign. Sovereign is just the freedom of the employees in an organization that before you have been convicted as a criminal in Kenya, then you must be subjected to some kind of law. We also have the private law, and this consists of the branches of law in which the state has no direct interest as a sovereign. Like in this case, the law that governs you and maybe your own property. That is a good example of a private law. We have substantive, procedural, we have criminal and civil law. So you can still go through those and try to understand. Then we have the use of Kenyan law. So basically, also the labor laws got their sources from these, from our own constitution. A good example, or the different types of rules of law in Kenya is we have the constitution, we have legislation. These are not the act of parliament. These are the laws that the members of parliament always uh, prepare. Then we have the delegated legislation, we have statutes of civil application, we have judicial precedents. These are now the decisions that were made earlier and they are bound to be reversed. Then we have the common law, or the law that originates from England. Then we have the equity, we have subsidiary sources. So that is a brief explanation on the sources of law. So we can still continue and see also uh, the introduction to employment contract, because immediately after now the sources of law, we also need to understand about the employment contract. And this is exactly what I mentioned earlier on, that the employment contract in this case is a binding agreement between the employee and the employer. And basically, if you're an employee, then you must have been served with what? A contract. That is now what is going to bind you that's going to be a binding agreement between you and the employer. Say that if someone is going to do what we call unfair dismissal, then you have a place to go and sort out your issues. So, in brief, what I can still say is that employment contract is an agreement between an individual employee and employer or a labor union. And in this case, it establishes the rights and responsibilities of the two parties, the worker or just employer, the employer, I mean, and the company, which is now the employer. There are things that should be included in a contract, and these are the simple things like the wage or the salary you're going to receive, the duration in which you're supposed to be working in an organization, the time that your contract in that organization is going to last, if it is for a very short period of time or it is until when you retire. We also we can still see what the responsibilities of an employee in organization. We also need to understand that there is some kind of confidentiality, that you're not supposed to be sharing information pertaining to each and every employee. And that is why we could say that the office of the HR is always a place where confidential information will always be confined. Communication, we should be doing communication, or how the information should be passed from now the relevant offices to the employees of the organization. Similar case to you, if you want to pass information on your side to the employer, how can you do it? Can you write email? Can you visit their own website? Can you have maybe through WhatsApp, or can you have a way in which you can just pass information? So it is also good for each one to understand that there is need to have the channels of communication. Still, what is included in the contract is the benefits, and the benefits are always very many. You can talk about the NHIF, that is an insurance. You can still talk about the vacation, just the leave. You can still talk about the perks side of the perks, or the benefits that you can still get in an organization. A good example of a benefit of perk besides that people can get in organization, you want the company car and the rest. We also have future competition. Now, talking about future competition, if you leave an organization that you're working, it is it the law always governs the employer from now you doing a business that is going to be competing. Unless you want to start your own your business, then you must have to disclose all the information so that you don't have to start a business that is going now to maybe make other business that in the first time it failed. So those are now there. Then we have a way in which a contract of employment should work. In this case, we can mention briefly about written employment contract, right? Employment contract, and also the agreement of the labor unions. So the most important one is always written employment contract. Any uh, any work that is going to be paid maybe after 14 days, in most cases, there must be what we call a written contract. So at any point in time, if you find that you've been given a job that is exceeding 14 days, then you must have to obtain a contract, a written contract. And in this case, if you're given such kind of a short contract, maybe that is going to last, let's say, for 3 months, then if this person wants to terminate this kind of a contract, then the employer must have to serve you a notice that is not less than 14 days. We also have the implied employment contract. And in most cases, this is the agreement that is always implied during the time of an interview, or when you're supposed to be given what a promotion, meaning it is not now going to render the past contract at different, unless you sign another contract say that you can have two types of contract. An example of this implied contract is implied contract can be inferred from actions, statements, or past employer. Another example is an employee may have seen or recorded a history of promotions, raises, and annual reviews and their co-workers. And lastly is during an interview, a potential employee may be told that the employee's job is or a permanent position unless the employee is fired for a good reason. So this always confines it implied employment contract. Then we have the union labor agreement. And in this case, each and every organization or industry must belong to a union. Like in Kenya, we have that always controls all the trade, the Central Orchestra of Trade Union or the COTU, which are headed by the Secretary General Francis. So the members of labor unions are covered by a group employment contract that stipulates which benefits, scheduling issues, and other working conditions must be covered by employees. So basically, it is always good for us that whenever we've been given an employment or which other terms and conditions of employment should we have to be entitled? Because some could some could take advantage of employees and probably maybe they go against the terms of the agreement. Then we also have the benefits and the conditions or the pros and cons of an employment contract. So pros are just the same as the benefits, and the one is clearly defines duties and benefits. If you're an employee, which type of a duty are you supposed to be doing? If you're an accountant, then you must only do work related to accountant or just an accountant. If you are a cleaner, then you're only supposed to do things to do with cleaning and any other benefit that you're entitled. Protect each party. The other thing is that it's going to protect the parties we're talking about here is two. We have the employer and we have the employee. The other thing is provides stability. Like in most cases, we could find that we can have unrest or some kind of strike happening in an organization. And in this case, what are we supposed to do to ensure that this kind of unrest are reduced? In this case, we must be having the employment contract to ensure that there is always a stability. Disadvantages of the employment contract is limit flexibility. And talking about flexibility, like once you employ someone, the employer, then you cannot just wake up and fire this person. In this case, you are not flexible to do any other thing. Only to write that person maybe a sufficient notice. Like in this case, maybe you're supposed to be served with 1 month notice. The other thing is legally binding. So in this case, between the employer and the employee, if you go against the terms of the agreement, then one of the parties is supposed to be sued. Another party that is suing is supposed to be given a sufficient remedy. So it can either be the employer or the employee be now given some kind of disadvantages. Then the last thing is can only be changed through a renegotiation. So meaning if you want to change the contract of an employee, then you must have to call that person to come and listen, or you must have to call this person to come and have a conversation on the same. So I think we can stop at this point for today. Yeah, it was just a brief introduction so that we know that maybe in the coming classes we should be having some kind of Zoom classes. So maybe you can have your own way of making decisions there, or let me just hear your own views concerning this kind of plan. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
What have you just asked?
I've said that what challenges are you facing as far as maybe online classes have happened?
I think it's the first Zoom we said, and I didn't have the issue.
Yes,
Yeah.
because maybe I've been hearing notes and probably maybe we've not had any kind of communication. So
No,
let me also know from maybe from the notes that I've already shared if there is a challenge.
there's a lot.
Okay, if that is the case, then maybe we can stop at that point for now. And our next class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for attending this class.
Thank you. And please add me on that WhatsApp group.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.